Hi, good morning. How are you today? Those of you who are joining or watching, this is Leaning In with Ann. This is a live walk and talk that I do every weekday morning. I, since August, have been walking 6 to 8 miles every morning and found out that I have a lot of stuff going on in my head, and so talking about it has been very helpful. And then people jumped on and we've been talking. What we're talking about today is others' expectations of you. So we talked about your expectations of others, now others' expectations of you. This is tricky. I was raised by a narcissist, I was married to one. Their expectations I couldn't ever meet, man. What we know about when you're in threat, you've been in threat too long, there's PTSD. We've all now known about PTSD, and that's a real thing. What happens is you get flooded with an emotion. Your frontal lobe of your brain is where reasoning is, it's where judgment is, it's where planning is, it's where all those things are. You get a certain amount of emotion, and that gets flooded with chemicals that are supposed to be in your body. They shut it all down. They shut it down because if you're actually under threat, it is not a good idea to think about the threat. Just either run or drop and freeze or fight it, right? I mean, that's where we get those responses. It's because the amygdala is inside the brain and it activates the minute the frontal lobe shuts down. All right. Why does this matter? Because when we have people who have expectations of us and they haven't actually spoken kindly, but they just judge because you're supposed to know, and then everything's ruined because you didn't do it right. There's another response that I want to talk about. That's called fawning. So freezing, fighting, like, oh no, you didn't, screaming, yelling. Fleeing, that's running away, retreating. I'm a fleer and a freezer. Actually, I'm a fawner too. Probably fawn more than anything. Fawning is when you just do everything to make it okay. Like you take on responsibility that's not yours in order to make it all okay. Like, I'll clean this, I'll do this, what do you want me to do? I'll make it all better. It's the eggshell walking and the doing. It's also taking responsibility for that which is not yours to respond to. So hear me out. There are people who their expectations is that you need to do it all right so that they can have a good holiday. Anybody? Anybody? Okay. If they have not clearly communicated, this is what I would love, and have a communication with you about your part, their part, how we're going to do this, then there's already emotional immaturity going on. Okay, the other level of emotional immaturity is when you do everything you can to make it all better. Or when you run away. Why? Because our parents had expectations that weren't set out clearly. Then they judged you as bad, wrong. You could get punished if you didn't get it right, and you have PTSD. I'm so sorry. We all do, actually. We all do. And so what I want you to consider when you think of others' expectations of you, are you taking responsibility? Now, the reason why I say that is, we're going to break up that word. Response-able. Are you actually able to respond for somebody? Like, today, I was irritated this morning. So irritated. And a lot of times what we do when we have emotions is we push them onto somebody else and say, you take care of this. Like, stop my irritation, customer service person. Like, you did this and this company did that. You're trying to get someone else to respond to an internal condition. I can't. Like, it's actually physically not possible. I can be super happy about a situation and respond a certain way, and I can have somebody right next to me that's responding another way, and I cannot do anything about their responses. I am not response-able. Guys, this is so hard if you have been conditioned. If you have been conditioned that somehow it's your job to make everybody okay, it sucks. Now, we go, okay, well, what about compassion? What about cooperation? Okay, the problem is, are you communicating or are you just doing? So, case in point. Now, I say something about Tom, and this is not to rat him out, I think everybody does this, so this is just normal. So he was on the couch. We've actually talked about this. He was on the couch. I walked through the kitchen, and he says, "Are you the one that spilled something in front of the pantry?" He was so irritated. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Immediately I go, I did something wrong. Like, I'm taking on the irritation, and I've got to make it better, like immediately. I went, I looked, and I couldn't see anything. I go, I hadn't been to the pantry for, I don't know, a couple days. And so I knew it wasn't me, but I didn't know here that it wasn't me. Here, I kind of knew, but my emotions took over. So I'm in front of the pantry. I can't see it. I go, I don't see anything. He gets up, still irritated. It's like, it's right there. It's like right there. I'm like, okay, well, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. I went, I got the mop, I got out, and I was cleaning. And while I was cleaning, I went, oh my gosh, I'm doing it. This is not my irritation. I am taking care of what irritates him so that he doesn't have to take care of what irritates him. Because all he has to do is complain, and I'm going to do it. Oh, I didn't get mad. I just went curious. That is interesting that is what happened. So think about the holidays for just a minute. What are the expectations that others have of you? Do they want you to go to the party where you're going to be attacked by siblings? Do they want you to stay away because, for whatever reason, I don't know. Do they want you to buy an extreme elaborate gift because that's what they do for you? Do they want you to make homemade stuff even though you don't have time? Like, just think for a minute, what are expectations? I know that my daughter got really wrapped up in this, that trying to meet the expectations of her dad and trying to meet the expectations of me when there was divorce. I was emotionally mature. I didn't know how to say, hey, look, here's what I would love. How does that fit into what you're doing? And if you can't, let's negotiate what would make a really good holiday for both of us. I didn't have that maturity, guys. Most of the time, if there are expectations of others that are really, really causing you pain and anxiety, right? Anxiety is born out of expectations. Gosh, either your expectations of what's going to happen, or your expectations of how others are going to act to you, or your not knowing what to expect generates a whole lot of anxiety. So what do? Well, first you got to know that your anxiety is not bad, it's not wrong, it sucks, but it's telling you something. So you go, okay, anxiety, what are you telling me? And is this reality? Is this an expectation? Is there a really toxic relationship that I probably shouldn't have been in? Bob is one of the most powerful men in my life because I was fawning all the time in a very, very toxic situation. And one day I was over at his house and I was really complaining about, I was so hurt about something that had happened. And I just said, I just want it to stop. I just want it to stop. He looked at me with all the amount of kindness that there was and says, Ann, it's not going to stop until you stop it. It's not going to stop till you stop it. Meaning I kept wanting my ex-husband to change so that I was happy. Guys, you can't anticipate anybody else changing. You can do what we just did and say, what would I love? For the holidays, if you were to get rid of every tradition, every expectation that there is that others have of you, you can't change how they're going to respond. What would you love not to do? What would you love to feel? What would you love to feel? Why? Because when you show up in authenticity, taking care of what you are responsible to take care of, everybody else around you settles. Why? Because you're not throwing stuff out for people to respond so that you're okay. And you're not taking on things that's not yours to respond to. Everybody has the right, listen really close, everybody has the right to feel whatever they are going to feel. It's not right, wrong, good, or bad. It's the behaviors out of those emotions that get wonky and are kind of a problem. If you are a fawner like me, one of the things that you can do is say, name the emotion. I see that you're very irritated right now. What do you want to do about your irritation? So give them the emotion. Guys, people don't know what they're feeling. That's why this emotions jar game is so dang important. Okay, but you have to give it back to them. You appear, you don't say you are, you say you appear to be very agitated right now. You appear to be very worried right now. You appear to be overwhelmed right now. What would you love to do about that overwhelm? And they're going to go, I don't know. I am overwhelmed. I don't know. Okay, well, you don't have to. I don't have to take over the overwhelm. You say that in your own mind. And so you say, okay, well, would you like to explore some options? You ask permission. If you ask permission, now they start to think. And it's very honoring. Just doing. How many times have you done taking care of things and you found out that's not what they wanted? Or they weren't actually mad? Or they weren't actually this, and you assumed because of your PTSD. So many times. So if you're willing to just take a step back, realize that you are not responsible for anybody else's emotions, and you're gonna say, what would you love? So you got a mom. Mom is just martyr mom. Oh, nobody loves me. Nobody takes care of me. Nobody actually wants to come over. What is mom feeling right now? Think about it. What emotion might she have? Invisible, unloved, right? Insecure for sure. So if you can identify what they're feeling and saying, Mom, why don't you hear me for a second? I can see that you're upset. Guys, this is magic. Why? Because we just talked about being heard. When somebody identifies the emotion that you're having and asks if that's what's going on, and you actually feel it, oh yeah, that is what I'm feeling. Now you're heard. And what happens is they let go. Like when you're seen and you're heard and you're known, you don't have to fight for your right to be heard, seen, or known. So you kind of let go of things. So I see that you're really upset. Is there something that you can do about that upset? And is there something you would like me to do about that upset? What would you like? So you can use my words. What would you love? What would you love instead of being upset? Like, what would you love this to look like? Right? Try to see if you can do that. Ooh, invalid. Yeah. That martyr mom, they're invalid. Mom, it seems like you feel like you're not very valid to us. When you give that back to somebody, you empower them. And then they can say, I would love a hug. They can tell you what spoiling looks like. Now, at first, they're not going to know how to do this, guys. I'm telling you, they don't know how. Why? Because we've been taught not to even know what we feel. We don't know what we feel. We're just going to give our feelings to somebody else to take care of them, instead of breathing it in and going, this is what I would love. So it's okay if they don't get this. We're going to let people have their experience and be a little confused when you start giving yourself permission to not take care of everybody's everything. When you give them permission to tell you how to take care of what they would love you to take care of. It is like magic, you guys. Can you imagine? Okay, let's just put you in mama's place for a second. Anybody out here feel isolated? Feel invalid? Feel lonely? Can you imagine if someone comes and says, I see that you're feeling lonely. At least it looks like you're feeling lonely. Is that what's going on? And you're going, oh my gosh, like somebody sees me. Yeah, I feel really lonely right now. Oh, I've been lonely before. That stinks. Is there anything I can do? Would you like something from me? Or would you like to just be alone and feel lonely? Okay, you don't do it sarcastically. Just put it out there. They have the ability to choose. No, I don't want to feel lonely. Well, what would you love, Mom? When you can show up for you and know what you feel and validate that it's okay, loneliness stops. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, if people don't show up in the way that you need them to, it's totally okay. you can actually shift this around. I know that feels completely insane. It's not anything you've ever known before. It doesn't make any sense. I know it. I know. But it doesn't mean you have to stay there. It doesn't mean she has to stay there. There is hope. So that's the difference of expectations versus anticipation. If you can stay in anticipation, I'm going to anticipate things going really well. Me having the holiday that I want. You can't change their behavior. Me really choosing what would I love and anticipating different ways of it coming. If you have an expectation of one person showing up for you so you're not lonely and they don't, whole holiday is ruined. But if you anticipate being connected without any look on what that looks like, then that person still may not show up, but somebody else may. And because you're anticipating being connected, you can go, oh my gosh, like God just did a thing for me. Thank you so much for showing up. I feel connected right now. It unlocks you, guys. Anticipation is so much more fun. Now, I have the Feelings Jar PDF. It is something that you can do and you can share with other people. That means you pull an emotion and say, when's the last time you felt this? That's it. You don't go into the reason. You just hear each other. You practice expressing what you have felt. Like it's not even the moment, so it's safe. What you have felt. And then when somebody tells you something, you practice celebrating. Oh my gosh, that's such a fun feeling. Or I don't know what to say right now because that's rough, but I'm just glad you let me in. Now we're practicing being seen, being heard. If that feels really daunting because the people around you aren't going to lean in and they're not going to figure out how and what they feel, that's okay. I would invite you to take an Igniting Your Belief class, because one of the things we do is on Marco Polo, we pull a feeling and everybody kind of chimes in and says, well, this is the last time I felt that. Why? Because it's like a lab. It's like a container, right? It's a container where you can practice where there's no judgment, no shame. You can hear yourself speak what you have felt. You can hear yourself receive, thanks for letting me know. And nobody's going to get mad at you because they don't actually have any personal interaction with your life. Like, it's so great. It is so great. So Igniting Your Belief is a 12-week class, and it's with a mentor. So you may have read all the self-help books all over the place and done mindset work and all that. That's kind of like going to the Smithsonian, and looking at all the things and just browsing by yourself. There's a difference when you take a guided tour. A guided tour is somebody who goes, oh, and this is what this means, and this is what that means, and this is what this means, right? So, yeah. That's what happens with your heart if you take a Igniting Your Belief class, is that somebody supports you. All right? That is it for today. I hope that was helpful. I love you. If you would love some help, if you would love a personal mentor to walk you through the things that I just told you, and you're like, yeah, but how? This is great information, but how? Like real time with my mom or my dad or my spouse, my kid, like how? You just need a mentor. You just need somebody to walk with you. It's different than a life coach. Life coach says, here's the program, go do it. If you do it right, you'll make it. And what I know is that there are things that happen during the day, during the week, that you go, I don't even know what to do. So in the class, you can get on Marco Polo. You can say, yo, this is what's going on. You can private Marco Polo me or one of the mentors that is teaching the class. And we will listen to the Marco Polo back, and or say, hey, let's get on a call. Let's talk one-on-one. So you have this beautiful hybrid of group coaching, peer learning, because you listen to each other, and personal mentoring. That's what you get when you take an Igniting Your Belief class. All right, that's it, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for doing all the things. And if you have any questions, if you have, hey, Ann, what about this scenario? Just message me. I would love to talk about it. Okay? Have a good day, guys.